everybody, John Diet here, coming at you from Sandy, Utah. I want to thank you for joining me for this quick video. Some of you know me, and a lot of you watching this video don't. The reality of it is that over the course of the last 9 months, I've had a fairly radical body transformation. As a matter of fact, a year ago, I looked like this, and today I look like this. And so it's been quite dramatic. No haters, please. I still consider myself a work in progress. I had a DEXA scan, which is a body composition scan. I weigh 190 pounds, down from over 240. And what that DEXA scan showed me is that I'm at a little bit of risk at age of 100 of falling and breaking my hip. I have 148 pounds of lean muscle mass, and I'm about 20% body fat. And so that's the good news, because that's a pretty good number for being over age 50. I lost 50 pounds of body fat. I actually put on a few pounds of lean muscle through this whole transformation. And, you know, that's a good thing. You know, the 20% is a pretty good number. The bad thing is that where I'm still holding that weight is right in the middle, from like the ribs to the hips, which is indicative of having metabolic syndrome. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and what that can mean down the road. So here's the thing. I did it, and so can you, but it's going to require a paradigm shift. And I want to put this in a little bit of context for you, because the reality is that I'm an ex-Big Ten college wrestler. And so I've lost and gained more weight than most people would in 10 lifetimes over the course of my lifetime, and some pretty unhealthy weight loss at that. But the reality for me is that I know about weight loss, right? Like, to my core, I knew how to lose weight, but yet I found myself 70 pounds overweight. And so probably like you, I've been on every possible diet out there. I've been on the low carb diet. I've been on the high fat diet. I've been on the high protein diet. I've been on the raw diet. I've been on the HCG diet. Many of you did that. That's always fun, sticking needles into your body, right? I've even fasted for over 40 days. And I think all this dieting really caused me to lose my hair. That's a bit of a joke, and probably not a very good one. But, you know, probably like you, I lost a lot of weight over time. Like, all of those diets worked, but then I found all that weight again. And, you know, there comes a certain amount of humiliation that comes along with losing weight and then gaining it all back. It just rocks your self-esteem. And so, you know, that's the bad news. The good news is I have now found the secret to sustainable weight loss, and that's what I want to talk to you about. That, and the key is that it is really the exact opposite of everything I have ever known or believed about weight loss and being healthy. The exact opposite, and I'm going to get into that a little bit. Before I do, I've got to read this legal disclaimer to you, to cross all the legalese, right? And so here's what it says. These statements that I'm about to make have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This video is not designed to and does not provide medical advice. Any information you receive is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. And as always, make sure you see your doctor before you start any weight loss program or any sort of diet. And so, folks, I've got to say this to you. If I seem a little bit irritated reading this legal disclaimer, it's because I am. And the reason I am is because for 40 years now, this community, the medical community, the pharmaceutical community, the FDA, the USDA, have really been the ones telling us, telling me, telling you that really it's our fault that we're fat, right? You know, what we really need is to be more self-disciplined. If we just had more self-discipline, we'd be skinny, right? I mean, how many looks have you gotten out there being overweight about, oh, you're having that extra, you know, whatever it is, right? Really what we need to do is we got to get more self-discipline. And they're the ones that have also told us that eating fat will make you fat, which is what started this crazy fat-free movement right back in the early 80s. And, America went fat-free, and the average America, gained 30 pounds. So they're the ones that have told us that a calorie is a calorie, and I'm just here to tell you, that is not true. They're the ones that have told us what you and I need to do is we just need to eat less and exercise more. That's our problem. Well, here's the problem I have with that. There is a significant problem right now with toddlers, children, little children, 2 months, 6 months, 9 months old, that are overweight and obese. How do you tell a toddler that they need to exercise more? It's a really good question, and if you start to think about that, it really signifies the madness that you and I have went through on our quest to lose weight and to be healthy. So, here's what I want to tell you. If you're overweight, it is probably not your fault that you're fat. And the deck has been significantly stacked against you. And I'm going to get into a little bit on that. But, before I do, I really want to look at some facts, right? And so here's the facts. In 1977, the USDA came out with the food eating guidelines, what you and I would call the food pyramid. And you've certainly seen this. And, as we look at the food pyramid, a couple of things should stand out as being fairly glaring. Number one, it is a high carbohydrate diet and a low fat diet. High carb, low fat. That is the food pyramid. They recommend to you and I that we eat 6 to 11 healthy servings of grains every day, right? And so, as we look at this food pyramid and the eating guidelines, understand 1977, it almost came out 40 years ago. And so I think after 40 years, we can probably start to look at some of the results, right? It's been long enough now that we can see the results. And folks, here's the results. It has wreaked havoc on the American health system. It has wreaked havoc on you and I, on our bodies, and on disease in America. So, let me be real clear about what I'm saying. That since those food guidelines were introduced, the number of people that are overweight in America has doubled. The number of people that are obese in America, per capita now, has doubled. Over 70% of all Americans are either overweight or obese. That is a frightening number. Heart disease in that time has doubled. Most cancers have doubled. And type 2 diabetes has more than doubled. As a matter of fact, we've already crossed the threshold with type 2 diabetes that they didn't think we were going to cross until 2050. Think about that for a second, And, type 2 diabetes is particularly a lot of fun to have that disease because typically by the time the end game comes around for that disease, you've lost your eyesight. That's a lot of fun. Or you've lost 1 or 2 limbs that you started with, right? You have 1 or 2 limbs less than you actually started with. So it's a horrible wrecking disease. And now we have what's called type 3 diabetes, right? And type 3 diabetes is Alzheimer's. And folks, I'm not trying to be flip by saying these things. I'm saying them because they are reality. This is what you and I are faced with. This is a preview of our life's coming attractions if something doesn't dramatically change. This type 3 diabetes, Alzheimer's, it used to be reserved for what? For old people. That's who got type 3 diabetes. Not anymore. Did you see the movie I'm Still Alice or Still Alice? She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, early onset Alzheimer's at age 45. And folks, that's a fairly common story today. And this one's pretty near and dear to my heart because, just kind of a personal story. I watched my mother pass last year after a 10-year bout with Alzheimer's. And I can tell you what, I know a lot of you have went through this too, and again, I'm not trying to be flip, I'm just trying to present reality here. And it's a heartbreaking disease because my mother did not recognize her children. Incredibly sad. My mother could not feed herself. My mother had to wear a diaper. And the end game here, folks, is with this memory loss, here's where it ends up. You forget how to chew your food. Unbelievable. And the final end game, if you live long enough, you forget how to breathe. It is a horrible, horrific disease. And, I really can't say enough about it. But so after 40 years with the USDA food pyramid and them giving us guidelines on how to eat, I think it's time that we ask, how are we doing? Isn't it time to start, keeping score? And at least looking at the scoreboard and saying, let's chalk some up in the win-loss column. Well, let me be clear. Here's how we're doing. We are getting creamed by every available measure out there. We're losing, and we're losing big, 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 big. And so, the only thing that I can really conclude, really, how can this be? This is America, right? We invented the scoreboard. Right? That's what we do. We keep score, And so the only thing that I've been able to conclude is that we're looking at the wrong scoreboard. Here's a thought. Are we looking at the wrong scoreboard? Maybe we should be looking at the big agriculture scoreboard, right? Because they're clearly winning. Maybe we should be looking at the Monsanto scoreboard because they're winning and they're winning big. Or maybe what we should be doing is looking at the big pharma scoreboard because the big pharmaceutical companies are killing it right now. They're absolutely crushing it. They're knocking it out of the park every single time they get up to bat. So folks, we're just looking at the wrong scoreboard, right? Clearly we should be looking at their scoreboard. Well, here's the thing. I want you to consider this, okay? As you're taking your insulin for your type 2 diabetes, or when you're taking your high blood pressure medicine to control your blood pressure, or when you're taking your statin drugs to lower your high cholesterol, I want you to ponder this statement, and it's this. Pharmaceutical companies do not create cures. They create customers. And they have and they've got a fiduciary responsibility to do so. Think about that for a second. They don't create cures, they create customers. Folks, all of the diseases that I just covered have one common denominator. They all trace back to what we talked about, which was I call it metabolitic syndrome. The actual word is metabolic syndrome, right? They all have that common denominator. That's where they all start. And so folks, I can't really, use the C word as we start to talk about some of these things, and you'll figure out what the C word is, but I can't use it. They will throw me in jail for using the C word, okay? But here's my question to you. What do you call somebody that was an insulin-dependent diabetic that no longer needs to use insulin and their blood glucose is at a normal level? What would you call that person? I can't use the C word, but I'll let you figure it out, okay? So look, I want to say this again, all right? I am not a doctor, okay? I'm not a medical professional. I am an insulin-resistant fat guy who got lean, who lost over 50 pounds, right? I found the secret to effortless, sustainable weight loss. I found the secret that will literally turn my body into, and it will turn your body into a fat-burning machine. Folks, I broke the code, and I'm willing to share the secrets of how to turn your body into a fat-burning machine with you. I've got the keys to the kingdom. I need you to do one thing. Sign up for my free report, okay? It's entitled, It's Not Your Fault You're Fat. You know why I called it that? Because it's not your fault you're fat, all right? The deck's been stacked against you. There's a way to turn this all around, but you really are going to need a paradigm shift. This report will start that process for you, folks. And I want to say this, a lot of times it's difficult to take that first step. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and I want you to know it's never, ever too late to take that first step. Take that step, get my first report or my free report, and begin your body transformation, okay? My name is John Dehart. I'm your Keto Sensei, and I look forward to hearing about your good health success stories. Thanks for joining me in this short video.